All right, so Dean, we're getting scrappy today.
Ooh, I like getting scrappy.
And because we're getting scrappy, we decided to bring James Korte along.
Yes.
Noted grappler, wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy. He gets scrappy.
I thought you were going to go with his looks. Like, is he looking scrappy? Is that what you were saying?
No, he's all
ruggedly handsome.
He's all
ruggedly handsome.
He's got the nice, groomed beard going on these days.
Yes,
There's nothing scrappy about that.
High style shirt going. Yes, absolutely.
I'm scrappier than that these days. Like I just wait every 4 days or so and decide to actually.
So
shave.
you think scrappy? You think Korte?
Well,
is that the equation here?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Look, I'm making this up on the fly. All right.
I hear you.
Usually I have these, beginning bits, pre-figured out. I didn't.
Well
do it
ironed
this
out.
time,
No.
So
Yeah,
okay. I'm just winging it here.
We've been doing it a couple times.
But no, we're talking scrappy marketing.
Yes.
Today, and we have a very special guest. Not just, Korte's a special guest as well, but you've seen him.
He's
on
old
the
hand
podcast
at this
plenty
point.
of times. At this point, we got Barrineau from OrderCounter joining us today.
Ooh, they do some fun stuff.
They do. And she actually brought this idea to us. She came to us specifically and said, hey, I like what you guys are doing over there. I got some ideas about marketing. I want James Korte on there with me.
Man.
She's my buddy.
Yeah.
Everything that you asked for. It's like the call to action, and she answered the call to action.
Exactly. This might become the, Blue Star Nation podcast co-starring Barrineau. I mean, just because, if someone's going to keep feeding me ideas and we just keep making them, why not?
There you go.
So we're going to get into some conversations about marketing today. We're going to talk about, how to deal with people that complain and say that, or if you are someone that complains and says, I don't have the budget, time, people to do marketing.
Whatever,
like, yeah, you do. And we're going to explain why.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some examples of some campaigns that we've seen, done, run, stuff that Crystal has done as well that illustrate how you can do a great and effective campaign, just with a little bit of time and effort, but not. You don't have to, again, go overboard.
Scrappy.
We're going to talk about some channels and places we think are smart ideas to go out and do this kind of marketing and drive some business. So again, if you are a reseller, an ISV, whatever out there, and you're competing with some really big dogs and you're not sure how to compete with their big marketing budgets, again, you can do it. We're going to show you how. Korte's going to help us. He's got lots of amazing thoughts. As always, this is one of those great ones where Dean and I kind of just lay back.
Yeah, we're just in the background.
Just like, we let the smart people talk. It's our favorite kind of episodes. It's probably your favorite kind of episodes as well. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
He's James Korte. Welcome to Blue Star Nation. Blue Star Nation podcast is brought to you by Elo. Look, you may be familiar with Elo's flexible iSeries displays, but now they've been upgraded for the most demanding use cases. The iSeries Steel combines the durability of a stainless steel chassis with the flexibility of Android. Complete with a chemically strengthened touch display available in 10, 15, and 22-inch sizes, Android 14 OS, integrated power over Ethernet, and superior IP ratings to protect the device from the demands of industrial environments and commercial kitchens. All right, let's dig into that durability a little bit more. IP65 rated front, IP54 in the back. Is it like party in the front, business back, or no, it's probably the other way around. I don't know how that works. It's easy to clean and corrosion resistant, reducing contamination. There are sealed cable covers and rounded corners combined with integrated Visa mounting and Elo's exceptional support, including security, seamless provisioning, and proprietary APIs for easy Android updates. Finally, the iSeries Steel is ready for the future with a fused AI accelerator in the Qualcomm 6490 chipset, offering astonishing performance at low power. Go back to one of our previous episodes. We had Luke Willarding on talking about AI and how the hardware that they create can help accelerate this AI stuff, and you're going to find exactly why that is a particularly important part of the iSeries Steel. So, if you want to learn more, check out the link in the show notes or contact the Blue Star Elo team to learn more. All right, our first guest today is Barrineau. She is the creative director for OrderCounter. And a little peek behind the scenes here. Crystal actually kind of asked to have this episode.
Oh.
Well, we don't get that very often. Usually it's our job to go hunt down people and say, hey, do you want to be on the show?
Well, we do solicit. We say all the time. Like, if you got an idea, bring it to us. Yeah.
And she had some ideas.
Well, there you go.
She sent them over. She even specifically asked for James to be on the pod with her.
Oh, wow. Well, she has insider info, like who the people are.
I mean, plus, why talk to the two of us when
exactly.
you talk to this guy? So, I get it.
I totally get it, yeah. Bring on the real people.
Exactly. So, Crystal, welcome to the show. Tell us a little about yourself, your background, how you got into the marketing world and became your own scrappy marketer.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for having me. My name is Crystal Barrineau. I am the creative director at OrderCounter. So we are a hybrid point of sale software company that's been fiercely credit card agnostic since 2007. It kind of started out in our garage during our college years when my husband Thomas and our CTO Scott Dickens, with zero venture capital, and they were just coding on some dusty Dells. And no joke, we had wood paneling in the background. I mean, it was pretty rough. So I personally handle all things that are creative, anything customer facing. I do the day-to-day marketing. I love doing the UI, UX design, event planning, content creation, illustration, product design, that kind of stuff. So my background is in the fine arts and in graphic design. And I've worked everything from credit unions to agencies that deal with hospitality, and including like the hotels that I represent, like the Hilton and Garden Inn and things like that. So I grew up in a tiny restaurant in Alabama, slinging egg rolls and sweet tea at Mardi Gras goers at age 12. So probably where I got a little bit of like some Scrappy marketing.
Classic. Yeah.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just more about the Order Counter origin story as well.
Yeah.
Why point of sale? Why did they kind of point their coding prowess at point of sale?
So that's really funny you started. We actually started out in online ordering, and this was before, Uber, DoorDash, all the big guys. So we started out, we went to a trade show, and within the first year, tried to sell it, didn't work. Ended up, for some reason, someone asked like, hey, do you offer point of sale? And Thomas like, yeah, sales side. It's like, yeah, of course,
Sure.
we do that. And then got our first paycheck to develop, and then Thomas turns to Scott, it's like, hey, looks like we're building a point of sale system. So, and then that took off from there. So it was kind of it originally started out as General's Chicken, as like specifically on ordering specifically for Chinese restaurants, because my parents had a little restaurant, and Thomas was trying to help out little places like ours that just didn't have like the PF Chang's or the that budget. So and trying to catch up with technology. But anyway, it worked out. That's our origin story.
I like it. That's a great story.
Yeah.
It also makes me think like the whole garage thing. Like, is your options basically, if you have a garage, start a software company or a band?
I know, right?
Yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah,
cliche.
absolutely.
I mean, I keep parking our cars in our garage because I, just think that's what you're supposed to use them for. If
Clearly, you're not doing
messing
it
up
right.
this whole time.
Yeah. I did the band thing. Didn't pay off quite as well as the whole software thing. Yeah.
I would say there's probably a higher degree of failure if you go the band route.
That's right. That's right.
Well, our other guest doesn't need much introduction. James Korte, our director of marketing. I don't know how many times you've been on the pod now. We've got to be at least 6, 7, 8 times at this point.
Yeah,
So.
ballpark.
Sorry, James.
No, this is great. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It really has, actually.
And the other thing I always appreciate, and I think it's the first time we've really gotten to do this on the show, is I have strong opinions about everything, especially marketing and design, but it's great to hear from someone who really lives the life of the scrappy marketing.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that BlueStar's marketing is still scrappy, but we've got a global team of 20 plus, 30-ish marketers. It's not what a lot of our partners are dealing with. So it's going to be really awesome.
It's not just you in a garage. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it is, though.
I would put mats down in the garage probably if it were me, turn into a little wrestling situation, grappling situation. That's a third option for a garage.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yep. All right. Well, let's get into it here. Let's talk about some scrappy marketing. And again, Crystal threw out 3 or 4 ideas to me, and this was the one that kind of really stood out to me because, again, it is something we talk about a lot: is how do you do marketing when you don't have the giant budgets and an entire team and a whole department, and if you're just on a limited number of people. So I think that speaks to a lot of the resellers and the ISVs, especially on the SMB side that we work with, that, they only maybe have 1 or 2 people doing marketing. And a lot of times you're doing a lot more than that. I mean, our marketing folks are not just marketing.
Nope.
I mean, our whole business development team is technically part of our marketing department.
That's true.
They've got a lot of other stuff on their plate too.
100%.
So they might be dealing with that. They might be dealing with small budgets. They might have very few tools at their disposal or an inability to pay for some of the more expensive stuff that's out there. So what do you say to folks that maybe will because again, you have this success story that may say, hey, here's all these excuses I've got of why I can't do good marketing. How do you feel about that? What do you say to folks that will throw that out there?
Yeah. So first off, I do think it's helpful to define the difference between sales and marketing because they often do get muddled together, especially when starting out. So with sales, that's direct. It's about building the relationships, closing deals, chasing leads. Marketing, on the other hand, is visibility, that storytelling. It's about the brand awareness, and it helps people know you exist before that combo even happens. So I was actually looking through a marketing survey that Korte, you guys put out most recently, and it did hit home. A lot of the people who responded were 1 or 2 person marketing teams.
Yep.
And so even me, we've been around 18 years, and I've been a 1 person marketing team for pretty much like for 17 of those years, or maybe 16. So it's really common. Most business owners do start out as generalists. You wear all the hats. You go from sales, operations, and then maybe you might grab, post a little bit about marketing if there is some time. But as the business grows, someone may eventually focus just on marketing, and that usually happens after sales to scale. So it becomes a chicken or the egg situation. Without marketing, it's hard to generate leads, but without sales, you don't have the revenue to invest in it. So the truth is they support each other. The good news is creativity thrives under constraints. You can probably attest to that. Totally. You don't need a huge team or big budget. You've got, as long as you have some consistency, some clarity, and a story worth sharing, you got to be consistent in your messaging. You've got some really simple things. So I'm personally in visual, so I'll start there. If you're going to door to door, what are you wearing? What kind of marketing materials are you bringing along? Do your clothes or anything that you're using hinting at your brand? Maybe even a small pop of color or something like that helps kind of, helps with that. So
what's your brand color again at OrderCounter?
What was it?
I said, what's your brand color again at OrderCounter?
For the folks that aren't actually watching, the podcast right now, yeah.
All right.
Head to toe.
It's orange, by the way.
Head to toe orange, yes.
But yeah, kind of recycle what's already working. If a blog post does well, turn it into a video. You can lean into what makes you unique. So, let's say if let's say you're always in the field, you can start documenting your install days, like a day in their life snapshot.
That.
Make boots on the ground your brand, right? If you're local, highlight the small business you support. Make community your thing. If you're known for being brutally honest with clients, turn that into your content voice. Make transparency your story. So the key isn't doing everything. It's picking one thing that's already true about you and showing up with consistency and just doing more with what you already have.
I'm going to take that and run with it. Crystal, you said something about clarity, and then that last line you said is right where I'm at, which is small team, small budgets, not a lot of tools, whatever. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to dictate the quality of your marketing. It just dictates how much marketing you're going to do. Right. And so, to Crystal's point, the advice is to get really specific about where you want to have an impact. Mm-hmm. As a smaller team, you're not going to be able to win on every front, so to speak, against the bigger competitors. So the challenge is, where do we want to focus? What type of business, what type of restaurant? Before we hit record, Crystal was kind of telling us a bit about, that they were built for Chinese restaurants specifically. It was just kind of a way to help out a family business. That could scale, right? We're like, that's where we're going to start. We're going to build features. We're going to build messaging that supports us winning with just that segment of the market, so to speak. And I think the challenge a lot of people run into when they get suggested, this path, so to speak, is they feel like they're kind of artificially shrinking their market, which is exactly what they're doing, right? But that is the way, in my opinion, that you can win with a smaller team, with a smaller budget. It's just to say, we're going to bite off what we can chew and we're going to go all in here. Crystal, I also want to call this out because you mentioned documenting your installs. To me, that's huge. Actually showing, the not highly produced, the not super clean installations that you're doing. If you can get some people on camera at that end customer to kind of talk about the process, how they found you, why they found you, what they're hoping to get out of it. I love that. And I think to me, that would definitely be a big pillar of my content if I were in your shoes. So just want to make sure that that's emphasized for anybody that might be in your shoes, that's doing something similar to what you guys are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Wait, can we go ahead, Crystal?
Go ahead.
No.
No, I was going to say, you guys definitely do. You guys are obviously, you have a large team of 20 or so people in your marketing team, but I've seen the stuff that you guys come out with, and it is, I'll share some examples a little bit later that you guys are, really just working with what you have too. And then, some things are a little nicely produced, but I'll share a little bit more in a bit.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, when I think, I'm sorry, you were going to go into a little bit more on the question.
Oh no, I was just going to quickly say, even though we do have more resources, and I'd say the large majority of the partners, customers we work with, we still have a similar challenge when it comes to, we serve a really broad and diverse group of partners in terms of technology, sizes,
industries they're targeting.
So it's also a challenge we have is like, we can't speak to everyone at once because it's going to not really resonate. Whereas we might say, the retail hospitality sector, this piece of content is really for them. The supply chain data capture section, this content is for them. So we still have to be strategic with our focus like that. So anyway. Yeah, I just want to make that point.
Yeah. I don't know. When I look at the premise of the question that you threw out there, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I'm a small reseller, I only got a couple people, small budgets, few tools at their disposal, I'd be like, dude, you live in a time where there's never been more tools at your disposal than you have right now. And so let's dive into the AI part of this discussion because, I would counter them. If you're not using AI to amplify your just any part of your marketing, then you need to readjust your thinking because that it's revolutionary what's happening with Gen AI and that whole world. Not just there, but all these tools that we use are getting enabled with AI to automate your messaging and so you can be the conductor but still automate some of these things. So what are your thoughts on that? Or Crystal, are you getting into AI? Or James, go for it. Yeah.
So I'm so glad you said this because we've been talking about a similar topic as this one for years. Do you guys remember I used to have a little slide that was like the army of one?
Yes.
And if you only have one person, what their skill set should be. If you can afford to have 3 people, you want a writer, you want a technical person, you want a designer. And now we've been having this conversation long enough that it's like, not to say you should only hire one person, right? As many high, quality human beings as you can have on your staff, great. But
if you can only afford one.
Yes, if you can only afford one, now we're, within the last 24 months, let's call it, it's like, man, if you have one person and it's a person who's embracing all of this cool stuff out there, then heck yeah, you should be doing that. And Crystal, the question I had for you that I didn't know how we were going to kind of shoehorn it in is, what tools do you guys have? Again, not to suggest you're a tiny team, but you're a small marketing team. What tools in terms of, do you use a HubSpot or what kinds of software are you guys using today? And to Dean's point, what kind of AI stuff are you starting to get into, if anything?
Yeah, so just specifically in marketing or in company-wise?
Yeah, kind of marketing technology, creative technology.
Yeah, so it's just specifically marketing. I mean, obviously we use chat quite a bit. I still feel we have a good version of it, but the stuff that comes out of it is, in my opinion, it's almost like having just a highly qualified intern, but just doesn't have like that wisdom.
There you go.
That's a little in it. So
highly qualified interns. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Really good intern, really good assistant, but you still need to check and ask it to check itself nonstop. So I use that a lot for content because I'm not, writing isn't my strong suit. Mine is more in the visual side. As far as other programs, we use Zoho to manage all of our what's it called, like things like from email to calendar, bookings to social, things like that. And that's in email campaigns. It's just all kind of all in one, and it's helped quite a bit keep things streamlined as opposed to all these piecemeal. Highly recommend them. There's some bugs here and there about what company doesn't have things that they're working on.
True.
Yeah. And as far as design, I actually really enjoyed your episode with Crystal Coatress about the free design resources.
Yep.
I've listened to that at least 4 or 5 different times, and even though hers was geared towards smaller companies as well, it's stuff that maybe I haven't heard. Some of the things I haven't heard of, and we use to this day.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, just just all different kind of tools like Canva mixed with Adobe the Adobe Suite, your standard, that kind of thing. So
let me say a quick comment about Canva. You guys know what Canva is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've recently kind of entered the fray on Threads, which I didn't foresee happening for me, but I've been spending some time on Threads. And there's lots of design conversations happening. There's a lot of Adobe hate in the world that I wasn't aware of as an elder millennial. It's just been like
really Adobe hate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they lock you into monthly subscription. I'm like,
literally
every software that exists today.
Yeah. Right.
Anyhow, there's also lots of raging debates with designers about how terrible of a tool Canva is, and just pay a designer. don't get me wrong, I love the idea of paying designers, but I also feel like in my maturity as a grown up, I think Canva is an incredible tool. I don't know if you guys have played with it at all.
No, I never played with it.
I was working with a friend on a project. They had put together some slides in there. They're like, hey, you want to go in and play with it? I'm like, oh, geez. And then I went in there and realized there's a whole library of
It's surprisingly robust.
templates and elements, and
Yeah.
it's pretty damn usable. And so to all those young designers out there who, are crying about people who probably don't have money to pay you anyway, Canva is awesome. And for people out there who aren't designers, I'm obviously heavily biased, but I feel like you have to have design as a piece of your marketing, your communication, what have you. Yeah. Hugely recommended tool for people out there who go, I'm not a designer. And I'll leave you with 2 other very tactical nuggets because that's my style. Not you, Crystal, but the people listening. Hierarchy and alignment. These are my 2 favorite design principles that if you had to just like go from 0 to I can make decent looking graphics for social media, hierarchy, meaning what's the biggest element on the page? Is it the headline? Is it an image? Something to attract the eye deliberately. And then alignment, making sure that you're not aligning things, some of them center, some of them left.
Yeah.
You can mix and match,
gosh,
but there's got to be some rhyme and reason to where you place things on a page.
Yeah.
So think about aligning things to a left edge, to a right edge, or all center or whatever. If you can get those 2 things right as a non-designer, well, you'll start looking like a designer pretty quick.
There you go.
Those are my tips on Canva.
Absolutely. I fought Canva so hard. The agency that hired me, but I had to do templates, and then I realized that it was, if you have it's just like AI. If you already have that background and knowledge, these tools that are meant for lay people to use, you can. How dangerous is it for someone who actually does have experience, right? 100%. Whether developer or designer or content writer, whatever. It just kind of amplifies it, so you can still make it look and it just goes a lot it goes a lot faster. So I highly recommend it. As much as I hate to tell people to start out, because I do think there's some design foundations that are missing. People who do start out in that, but it's better than nothing. It's a good starting point for sure.
I would agree.
The last thing I'll add, on the idea of people complaining about like I don't have the resources, or
I got a couple more.
Or I don't know how to be a good marketer. Okay, to your point, we live in a creator economy right now.
Oh yeah,
like people are all over the place. If you spend any time on YouTube, TikTok, Reels, Instagram, any of this stuff or whatever, you're seeing people there's a lot of people who are just average everyday people that are using free and simple tools, and they're going out there and just hustling and making stuff. And it doesn't necessarily. There are ones that will put a lot of time and effort to it, and they're the ones that maybe have millions of followers. But your average person can easily throw something together in no time at all. Whether it's the get ready with me tutorials, the streaming gamers, even podcasts. It's easy to just throw together a podcast if you want to right now. There's a lot of inexpensive tools like we've been talking about that are out there to make that happen. And even just doing to me that tiny little bit, just a little bit, can be a lot more than what any of your competition is doing, and can set you apart from what your competition is doing. So there's no reason not to do it. And I think the last thing I'll say there, I think we've talked about this before, is finding the hidden talent that you may have on your team. You may not realize it. Maybe you've got a person who is a salesperson or someone maybe
programmer,
or maybe somebody working out in the shipping office or something. Who we've talked with this. We found people in our own warehouse that are social media gurus.
We have a warehouse associate with 1 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Exactly. Right. There are people like that may have those kind of little hidden talents out there that you're not aware of, and if you go looking for them and tap into them, maybe that's somebody that you could bring in to help you out and become part of your scrappy little marketing team, even if their job isn't going to be marketing.
Yeah.
Dean, I have a one-liner before you hit us with some of yours.
Yeah.
I say this often, but I say it in different ways. As a small business, I think the mindset shift needs to be deciding that marketing is critical. It is not we don't really know what we're doing. The best companies out there, and I guess it's funny to compare publicly traded companies to small privately held ones, but they have something in common. They all really dedicate themselves to marketing well and branding well. So decide that it is critical for your business and then proceed from there.
I know one of the pitfalls when I worked for a reseller in marketing, and today I think we had a good riff there on, you have more tools than ever to create content, develop content, whether you're a writer or a designer or you lack those skill sets. There's all kinds of tools that you could use. But then I was thinking about that hits a critical brick wall when it comes to actually funding disbursement of that message out. Like, okay, so I've got all this great messaging, but how am I going to buy the advertising? How am I going to get this message out? And I just wanted to throw on the table that one of the hacks that we had, and this was successful 15 years ago, and it continues to be a success. Dive into vendor co-op.
Yeah.
Dive into your ISVs, not to throw order counter on the on the table here, but and I don't know, Crystal, maybe you can educate us if you have like a co-op or an MDF kind of a program. But one of the things that we learned, it's specifically with the software companies that we work with, is that they're hungry for getting their message out, but they had some money that we could tap into.
Right.
To elevate our message, right? So to buy those Google ads or whatever, if we were in the restaurant, we were into digital menu boards at the time. So we were trying to buy those keywords and stuff like that. And so we worked with the software company that we work with to get their funding to help us. So yeah, we were good at creating some stuff, but how do you get out there? So the funding mechanism, I just wanted to remind people to tap into your partnerships. They could be ISVs, it could be vendors. There's dollars out there that can enable that.
Yeah, you just got to go looking for them. You got to ask for them.
You do, you do. Crystal, do you work
your
with
pitch and ask
folks on that front, or no?
Not
yet.
So,
okay.
Not yet. Not so much.
Yeah.
I think we probably tried some in the past, but it hasn't been our main focus. Our main focus, again, at the end of the day, is people to people. So we do a lot of events, and it is more time consuming and more resource heavy, but those relationships do take a really long time to build. And maybe, just like with any brands that you come across, it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 times of what's impressions or so.
Yep.
Before you can even stick with a conversation. So yeah, we're trying to play the long game here.
No, I love that. That's actually a great segue into the second point that I wanted to have, is that when you develop those relationships with your partners, a good Scrappy hack is to get into the lead disbursement flow, meaning these companies, your partners are out there generating leads too. They need somebody that they can hand the lead off to. That's good. So, and they need to have trust in those individuals. So again, I'll go back to my previous world. We were great in digital menu boards. We developed that. That was like our niche that we were developing. And so anytime that software company got a lead in that was digital menu board related, it came to us. It was like, it was the best way of like leveraging the relationship that we had. So sometimes you can garner some funding, but to Crystal's point, at a minimum, develop those relationships, because good things happen from the partner ecosystem that you're developing.
Yeah, definitely.
John, I have 2 quick comments to react to what's being said. On the MDF co-op suggestion, first of all, Dean, I think that is awesome to call out, which is small resellers out there, small ISVs out there. If there are hardware partners that you rely on, that you partner with, lean on, hit them up. But also keep in mind, and we all 3 of us heard this many, many times over the year. And I'm not saying that you should necessarily deviate from this. A lot of ISVs in particular say, well, we're agnostic to hardware, which I get, especially if it's more of like we work with multiple different types. So I guess what I want to acknowledge is the idea of saying, hey, we are going to really closely partner with a vendor or 2. It is a business decision to say, yeah, if we decide we're going to go and kind of get closer with vendor X and Y, then vendor Z might kind of feel a way about that. So there's a give and a take, right? Where there's dollars to use, and I think we all feel pretty strongly is worth considering. But you're placing some bets, right? You're kind of picking some horses and say, these are going to be our partners we're going to market with, and we're going to support each other. And honestly, if I owned a small ISV, whether the availability of MDF/co-op would be something I'd look at, as a third tier, right next to the partnership, the support, the actual product itself. And then real quickly, I wanted to say on the event front, Crystal, you mentioned that you guys really lean into events. I have not in my career been heavily involved in events until recently, with the exception of Artec. But I'm going out on our 2U tours and stuff like that. And I kind of just had this thought in the moment. You can see and interact with someone 50, 100 times online, right? Your online buddies. Right. You meet them one time in person, and that relationship goes to a new level, right? It's like now we've actually said hello, had a quick conversation. Now we're real friends. We're actually connected. And like I'm
people
really
buy from people.
Don't get me wrong, online is great, and you can reach so many people, but it really does solidify things when you can actually say hello and shake somebody's hand and chat.
For sure.
Yeah, it does.
And actually, I think someone, Phil from Touch Dynamic, message and it's like, hey, there's an open mat on Sunday. And I'm like, let me grab all the grapplers. But I'm like, I can't. I am like way too I'm growing a human and some liver and some organs right now. So I'll probably save that for the next for the next event.
The doctors tend to frat on grappling, I guess, when you're in that condition. I don't know why, but
yeah. Before we move on, I got one last one.
All right, let's hear it.
Hey, there's just too much to talk about here. And
we knew,
not to mention all the things that Crystal, that she mentioned that we could dive into. Making community your thing, make transparency your thing. Brilliant advice. Okay, I'm going to throw the team here a curveball. Let's riff on generative AI results, because when I think about Scrappy marketing, right? When I put on that hat, it's like, what are the innovative things that are happening in marketing, or how do we go out and find folks? And I think I brought up the one statistic on one of my what's on my radar is around the Amazon
Prime Day,
3,300% increase during Prime days of
Gen AI search
results
that were leading to Prime.
So everybody's gravitating towards Gen AI, GPT and the like to get their information. By the way, if I was at Google and selling ads, I guess I'd be a little nervous at this point in time. But anyway, so how do we hack that? What is some of the advice? So I asked GPT, what some of the advice is. So let's just riff on it. They say, optimize to do that. Make sure that your chunks of content are good, right? Clear, descriptive subheadings, which is some coding stuff, self-contained stuff like that. Focus on citation-worthy content. So it's kind of leaning in on the content, make sure it's fact-based, well-structured, use free or low-cost AI tools. There you go, to scale your content. Do conversational queries where natural questions like what's the best or how do I get more type of stuff. So anyway, there's obviously some stuff that you can do to start tweaking either your content, your website, stuff like that. Is that on our radar yet? Am I throwing too big of a curveball here? It's like, because I know we were going to start talking about it internally here for our strategy next year. But if I'm a small company, it's like they got to lean into this too.
For sure. I mean, it is for me, it's the new search frontier for sure. I don't mean for me. In my opinion, it's the new search frontier. Yeah. And it feels to me, if I had to take early SEO lessons and apply them, which may be the wrong thing to do. I mean, I'll just say for the record, candidly, I have no idea today. No idea how to be showing
it is so wild. It's so frontier now.
It's still very new.
It's very frontier.
But I have the benefit of being an elder millennial and literally being around for the dawn of the web, right? Up until 2025, where basically it went from, you guys will probably remember this, Crystal, I'm sure you're a bit younger, but you still may know what we're talking about here. People used to take text and put it in the footer of their website,
right? Yeah,
and then make it all white, so you couldn't see it. But the search engine, that's how rudimentary it was.
Yes,
right. It's like if you put, whatever,
so the crawlers could get it.
They would find you. And then it's like nowadays, it's like, well, I believe, and there's a lot of conversations happening around technical SEO. Right, this has been a discipline for years at this point. People who really know their stuff, really understand the way that the new Google updates work and what it's looking at and all that. And my take as a marketing design generalist has always been create good stuff, make headlines that make sense, especially the headline you're thinking about. What questions are people asking? And as directly as you can answer the question, you could be a featured snippet and all that kind of good stuff. I think a lot of those common sense best practices are probably still what's going to win.
Yeah,
the same stuff that would have had you high in organic search is probably going to surface you in high in Gen AI search. However, maybe we're still in the keyword stuffing, right? Maybe there are some hacks and some stuff that may work for a couple of years. And I don't mean to downplay that. If that stuff can really work, that's the kind of stuff that a business can blast off in a year or two. And then when things normalize and the hacks kind of get weeded out, oh well, you've built your brand in those 2 years when they were still working. So let's agree to stay close, the four of us, and when we start learning, let's share. Because today, man, I don't know. Good content, answering questions.
So, what are your thoughts, Crystal?
From you guys as well. So I'll definitely put that on my radar.
So. Yeah.
This makes me think, based on what you were talking about, and and the way I've seen Gen AI results look. Are we going to go full circle and start blogging again? Is that where we're headed?
Could be.
Because I feel like a lot of those results you get tend to be more like blog type content, where it's like a little bit longer form content, and it's giving you maybe a snippet of it, showing you like, hey, here's the relevant data that your information you're interested in that came from this. And then if you're asking for that citation or where did you get this from, it's sending you to this potentially longer post. I find that happens a lot more often than just being sent to like a random website where maybe it just pulled a snippet of like a
sentence or
who
two.
we are, what we do kind of thing or whatever. It seems to be like a little more. So I don't know if, again, we're just figuring this out and starting to look at this stuff too. I wonder if that may be what happens is we start finding that some of that long form content comes back around again and becomes a little more useful because that's what maybe some of the Gen AI stuff is grabbing. And
again, in my head, it's like, you're fighting for every exposure that you can get. And sometimes you're competing against behemoths. And so when you put on a Scrappy hat, it's like sometimes you have to be innovative or at least leading edge. And to me, Gen AI search is like leading edge. That's very frontier. So like, how do we get into there? Yeah. How do we start resulting in there? How do we start dominating as best we can in our local area using Crystal's methodology of make community your thing, make transparency your thing, make what's unique about you and your boots on with the boots that you have on the ground. You can mix that into that, right? And cook that and make that thing make it a thing.
I agree. All right, well let's get into some actual examples here because we've been talking I think kind of theoretically about what we can and can't do and what you can make from what you have, but let's get some concrete examples, Crystal. So what are some examples you have of campaigns that you've run or that you've seen that clearly didn't require big budgets, a lot of time, effort commitments, or maybe on the flip side of that too, do you have any examples of stuff that you failed and maybe what you learned from that?
Oh, absolutely. So many failures. But I will start with...
I love the honesty.
I'll go ahead and I'll start with one that is doing well for us. Since we were completely self-funded starting out, we've had to get pretty scrappy over the years. And one of the better examples of that is the campaign that we're currently running. We call the Monopolists Tears. So it started out with a problem. We've got these massive point of sale and payment companies. No shade on them. I mean, they, you all start somewhere, right? But for us, they've got these big floors of sales teams, deep pockets, and all the funding in the world to, throw on these like really flashy parties at these events. And we just can't compete with that level of brute force. So instead of pretending that we could, we leaned really heavily into the pain our customers were already voicing, which in case were our partners in end user, which are like restaurants. We started small. We started out with a slideshow deck, a few limited run T-shirts to wear at events, and just started talking about it. So I'll give an example. And you guys may have seen us at our booth wearing these shirts, but the definition that we printed right on our shirts on the back says monopolist, refers to an individual or entity that aims to dominate and control the market for a specific good or service. This lack of competition and lack of substitute goods or services mean the monopolist wields enough power in the marketplace to impose unfair pricing strategies that solely benefit them. Then the example is the monopolist, upon hearing you work with a promising company, promptly bought it out to ensure your future meetings were only with their billing department.
Brilliant.
That's great.
It's gone so commonplace that you kind of roll your eyes when you find out your payment company or POS company was bought out once again. And then, so then you're locked into their terms instead of the ones that you started out with. So at those few events where we just had a few T-shirts and that nice deck, the response we got was instant. People were laughing about it. They shared it. They felt it. And it cost almost nothing to start. Just the right timing, right insights, and a bold point of view that really resonated with their pain points. And again, I'm sure many roll their eyes to you're not going to like, oh my gosh, David and Goliath kind of story, but you're not going to appeal to everyone. And that's kind of the point. You've got to lean in pretty heavily. So some of the fun, so once we have found that message resonated, we eventually expanded the campaign with a few fun promo items. So we've got these tumblers, for example, that has the logo, the Monopolist Tears logo on it. And right below it says hot or cold. So you can enjoy their tears, hot or cold. We've got fans that we were passing out at our booth recently called Meltdown Coolers. We had T-shirts that we were wearing, which the definition has the front and the back, but also on the sleeve in really small, it says Monopolist Tears. The drying pad, so if they wanted to, they can cry their tears on our shoulder, and it's okay. we'll pat it down. So, we just kind of run with it. It's just more fun. But that campaign, at least for us, was helping trying to come up. It started out Scrappy because we were hitting straight in pain point, found that it worked, and then we went a little hard on it to connect with the, with our customer base.
Yeah.
I have so many questions about this.
Yeah. But I can share a few other Scrappy campaigns that I've admired that's in our industry. Obviously, you guys, BlueStar, I think Korte was going around. What's it called? You guys were doing the Boothie Awards, and you can, James, if you want to share very quickly about the Boothie Awards.
Sure. Yeah, the Boothie Awards. We did it 2 or 3 years in a row at Retail Now. We did it 1 year at Vartech, and it's just a fun way to shine a light on, not only shine a light on some creative exhibitors, but to encourage creativity in the booth, right? And that's what I think the bigger goal was, is like, if people expect this every year, and same thing for Retail Now, like, will they bring it a little bit more? Will they have a theme in their booth? Will they wear, crazy costumes or something like that to try to end up in the boothies? So yeah, that was it. It's just a fun, and I think the critical part was, we're a distributor. We shouldn't show a bunch of favoritism to a single ISV, a single hardware vendor.
Right.
So the criteria for it was, what can just be like some fun, silly categories that if you win
I thought the categories were the gold.
It is. It's the important part.
For
like,
sure.
You feel proud about it, but it doesn't really like rev up the competitive. Like, what do you mean BlueStar awarded them most innovative technology?
Right.
What about us? It's like, no. It was the tastiest snack in the booth, right? It was the
best dressed.
How can you be mad about the tasty snack, right?
Right, that's right.
Or the tallest booth in the hall. Like, it's not debatable. That's the tallest booth.
Right.
No, what I loved about it was, again, I filed that in my folder. I was like, well, gosh darn it, now I can't use this. And this was a basically free idea, and it built community, and you brought awareness and funness to your brand. And, but yeah, just for those who don't know, Retail Now, they have the big awards every year. And so, yeah, you got your standard vendor awards of excellence. You've got Women of the Year, your awards that are the meaningful, and that's great. That it really is. But you guys just made up your own categories and made your, with the tasty snacks, crazy costumes, danceable floors.
Yeah,
and
that's right. You guys won danceable floor. We always acknowledge too that they were unauthorized awards because no one gave us this authority. We can't.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just a really quick, easy. You guys made your own categories up and share that on your social channels, and I thought that was pretty fun.
Well, and I was gonna add on that, because from what you were mentioning earlier, the previous campaign you were talking about, the Monopolists Tears idea, because I think that and what we do with Boothies both have something in common, which is a little bit of an edge of humor, where you are clearly talking about, like you're illustrating and talking about, and for you in particular, something that's actually happening in the market, and telling your customers, hey, we get it. There are these giant companies out there that we can't compete with, but we're also not trying, but we also know they can be a nightmare and a headache for you. But rather than just saying like, hey, turn away from those guys and come to us, you're adding a little bit of a humorous edge to it, where you're getting the point across, but with enough humor that I think that people get like, oh, okay, I get what they're saying, but I also find this kind of fun and laughable. And I would almost think the monopolists themselves would have to look at that and say,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty funny.
That's funny. I get it.
That's pretty good.
Yes, we are trying to dominate.
They're not wrong, and they go about it in a funny way. Yeah. So I think that humor element is, to me, that's one of my favorite parts of marketing. And I'm always looking for an opportunity of how can I insert a little bit of humor into this that can still get our message across, but add just that little extra element that make people can kind of chuckle and go, oh yeah, I see what they did there.
Yeah.
I think that kind of stuff's fun. Go on, Crystal. Do you have any other ideas?
No, I'm just saying my humor is more slapstick, so it's very hard for me to.
Hey, there's a place for that too.
It's very hard for me to tone it down, so we'll see. But yeah, just a few. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, James.
Just sorry. Quick question about this. So I am aware of this campaign, and I'm interested to hear you refer to it as a campaign. I mean, it certainly is. I guess in my mind, I was curious to know if it was more of like a tagline, a permanent rallying cry, because when you use the word campaign, it sounds like this may be something you just stick with for a while, right? A year, whatever. This is not my question. Let me get to my real question.
Okay.
Two of them. First one, and I ask them both, and I can remind you if you forget, because I know it's hard to respond to two questions. What signals helped you to understand that it was resonating? What were you hearing, seeing, or whatever that you went, people know what we're doing here and they get it? And then the second question is, Talk a bit about getting buy-in from your team, your own team, on this campaign message, or maybe they were part of it. That's something that I've always admired when I see it in other companies and go, man, not only do they have a really great campaign, tagline, whatever you want to call it, but I can see on social that their team is bought in, that they're using the hashtag, they're mentioning it in copy or whatever. So start with, what did you see that made you think, okay, this is actually resonating with the people we need it to?
Sure. So when we're at these events and presenting and just doing our pitch, we did have more of a humorous approach to it, but honestly, just hitting those pain points and then people coming up to you and telling you that these are, so, in comedy, you're pulling from real life. We're not pulling this out of thin air. This is true fact. Things like this are happening. It's very commonplace. People usually don't even bat an eye at this point. But we have found that our partners, our VARs, they were voicing this well before this campaign launched. And so when it did, all it did was just reinforce. It reminded them, hey, these are
The things we're up against.
Yeah, these are things that they're doing, and just getting a good response from it. Just coming up to us and either replying back or just talking to us in person and calling us and telling us about that it's working and stuff. So
it was never a shot in the dark in the first place.
Absolutely. And
this is based on insight.
And it wasn't like an overnight thing. These were pain points that we've been hearing over the years, and it's just become a running joke. And all we did was just take their frustrations and just ran with it. So on the other spectrum, we work with campaign flops too. So I worked with a client who was determined to run a direct mail campaign. That should already and then 2020. So that should already give you a little bit of a hint. Our project lead highly advised against it, but our client insisted. So I did help them come up with a creative, and they spent $30,000.
Wow.
$30,000 on these beautifully printed pieces, had a QR code. And they bought a list maybe from the chamber or something. This is like a local place. And they mailed to what they thought was a strong list. So I'm going to ask you guys this. How many leads do you think came in, responses?
I almost want to say 0, but maybe
2.
Yeah, 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Less than 10.
Yeah, probably about 5, something like that. Yeah. Like just blast it to people. So in sales terms, they were trying to buy something that they hadn't earned yet, and which is trust. So they bought a list, but they really wanted was that connection. And unfortunately, that wasn't for sale. That is built over time. And so there's also a tendency, especially as you scale, you can replace relationships with automation or budget. But scaling doesn't always mean swapping real connection for shortcuts. So
Yep.
So if I could advise our client to do it again, I'd say just they take a fraction of that budget and invest it just old school style in the grassroots approach. Let the sales team knock on doors.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start, if it's cool, I've got one, it's kind of more generalized failure that just dovetails perfectly with what Crystal just said, which is this not about a particular campaign. It's about any number of campaigns that I've been involved with over the last decade that we didn't have the luxury of time and patience. Crystal, to your point, meaning if we were well-funded and we had a year or a year and change to build trust with an audience, and then say, oh, by the way, now that you know who we are and what we do, and hopefully we have some credibility in your mind, this is the thing we want to sell you. It's that going right in. Again, not that we shouldn't ask for a sale, right? But I think that can be a mistake to just say, we need Q3 sales to be reflected by this campaign. And it's like, ooh, I get that all the time from partners. When it's like, I understand, right? I want that to happen too. But is it reasonable to expect that someone who's never heard of you today is going to buy from you tomorrow because they got a piece of mail, because they saw your ad 10 times in a week? Probably not. Are you just going to take some time? I mean, so that is the thing. Salespeople, especially listening to this, yes, marketing is supposed to make sales easier. It doesn't make it easier immediately before you've built credibility and trust in people's minds. On my success, I have a fun one, and this goes back. It's outside of this industry. I have a buddy who used to own a fly fishing business. So it was a physical business. They call him an outfitter. I'm not a fly fisherman, so I don't know a ton about this, but I had built his website and I helped him out with this little campaign I'm going to mention. So you could go in there and you could buy rods and reels and the clothes you wear and all that kind of good stuff. He also took people on fly fishing trips. He was a guide. So a guide service / outfitter business. And when he started, he had a storefront, which I'm sure was expensive. He had all of this inventory, and he was like, we got to get the word out. Hey, Cordy, we're high school buddies, right?
Right.
Yeah.
How do I start getting people to book meetings, book trips with me? And I'm like, geez, Brad, that's a great question. So what we did, and it was scrappy, and it was easy, and it was effective. So he was in the Toledo, Ohio area, AKA hotbed for fly fishing. Not really.
Who knew?
Yeah, really.
Anyway,
Not at all.
he had spent a lot of time out in Colorado, then moved home and decided to do this. Anyway, we spent $300 on a Facebook campaign. This goes back to like 2010. $300 on a Facebook campaign targeted to the Toledo, Ohio area. People who are interested in fishing and fly fishing.
Right.
Beautiful thing about Facebook is that there's interest-based targeting. So for B2C, it is fantastic in that way. $300, we got him like 150-ish new email subscribers. And the call to action was enter a giveaway to win 5 free flies. Nice. So again, what do I know? You tie flies. And there was this young guy that worked at the shop that was really good at tying custom flies for Lake Erie or wherever the heck they went fishing. It was super low cost to the business, but it was super high value to these fishermen who were geeks about this stuff. And all I have to do is enter my email. $300 spent, so $2 per subscriber. And the really cool part here, it's like when Bed Bath & Beyond used to send you 40% off coupons. They knew damn well you were going to come in and end up spending a couple $100, right? That your mom was going to when I was a kid. You get someone to come to the shop. Hey, we've got your flies ready. Come in and pick them up.
Yeah.
And they come in and see all the cool Patagonia gear and all the new rods, and they're like, ooh, they leave $400, less money in their pocket.
Yeah.
And it was repeatable, right? It was something you could continue to run. And you're building that base of people who are in the area, who you know are into fishing, who you can not drive crazy with email marketing, right? Today it might be some text message marketing. Hey, we've got a last minute spot open tomorrow, Friday, book it now kind of thing. So not super duper low cost, but $300, brand new business, cheap giveaway to get a bunch of people you can then communicate with on like an owned channel like email. So I thought that was a cool one. Yeah. That was in my portfolio for a few years.
Well, and once again, it's not one of those, it's not a something for everyone campaign. It's a something for a very specific niche of people and what they want and need and are interested in.
That's right.
I like it. Good stuff. Dean, you got any
No. I was going to let them do the examples.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I got nothing else to add because I think you guys have given some great examples.
Should I add in the one true success we've had with direct mail, just to counter what Crystal said?
Well, I was going to say that we have tried this and it has actually worked, but I also understand how it can not work.
There have been plenty where we've sent out 2,000 or 3,000 direct mailers, which cost you about $2,000 or $3,000, and gotten like 10 scans and no leads.
Right. Right.
But then there was one, Crystal. So for the record, direct mail can be very hit or miss. The one real great success we had was with Wyndham Hotel Properties. So again, it's fun, the things you learn in working in all these different industries. Wyndham is a brand, but they own like 10 different types of hotels that we've all heard of, Days Inn and whatever, La Quinta Inn and things like that. We had gotten a list from one of our vendor partners that said, hey, we actually have this partnership with Wyndham Properties that we are their go-to EV charging solution. They sent us a list. We sent out a mailer. I don't remember how many scans we had, but from that mailer, I probably went to 3,000 or 4,000 people. We had like 15 or 18 sales meetings booked. Now, there's two things that I think are important about this. One is that EV charging stations are expensive. So there's a great ROI on a single sale, which, that $3,000 that we spent or whatever could very easily be recouped. I think the most important part, and it's funny doing like a post-mortem on this kind of thing where you're like, why did this work? And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. It went to a business where people come to work every day. This was like right out of the pandemic. We may have been in the pandemic. That's a good point. But like hotel owners, managers,
somebody's got to
come to the office every day, and they look at their freaking mail because they got bills and stuff like that. Whereas, a couple of years back, especially, you sent me a mailer at work. That thing was going to sit there for months potentially, right? We were in the office, not so much
if it even got to your desk. But
anyway, we had we did a telemarketing piece too, so it was mailer then follow up with telemarketing. 2 very old school techniques. And it was like the outlier, really successful campaign. And I think it had more to do with who we were targeting, which you can't always control. Your audience is your audience in some cases.
But that's the kind of stuff you got to think through. If you haven't thought it through and you just think, oh, I'm just going to go do this and send it to a bunch of people, and without thinking about those little nuances of, is this someone that actually is going to get this? Are they going to show up? Are they going to be there? Is this something they're even interested in? That's the little intangibles sometimes you got to think through before you just hit go and hope something happens.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. And I'll just add to that. It's such a common thing, again, with generalists, people trying to appeal to everybody and just shooting and hoping something sticks. No, I mean, if you can just niche down or just know who your audience is, then that makes all the difference.
Totally agree.
It does.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's wrap up our main conversation here with talking about, I think we've kind of touched on a little bit this throughout of different places and ways that you can go out and do marketing, because that's the marketer's lament at this point is, well, there's 1,000,001 places I can go do marketing. Everything from social media, emails, blogs, video channels, direct mailers, telemarketing. Events,
right.
all this stuff you can do. And your audiences are also spread across all of these things. And good luck figuring out exactly where they all are. So are there any particular platforms or methods that you have found some success with, or maybe ones that aren't getting enough love, maybe some newer stuff, or just things that were just not, that most folks probably aren't investing as much time in as they should be, and could be a good place to find some new customers?
Yeah, I mean, again, honing down where your actual audience is, and you don't need to be everywhere. Start small, do a few things well, know where where the audience hangs out, so, and just match the content to the platform. Thankfully, you guys have mentioned LinkedIn. Actually, a lot of businesses have mentioned LinkedIn. That's been really good for us, especially if you're in B2B with storytelling. As far as some of the other ones, I mean, you've got your Instagram, TikToks, so you can do your quick visuals behind the scenes. You've got YouTube, you can do some deeper demos on there, and you've got email and blogs, which are your own channels. So there's no algorithm needed to that. But sales is personal. Marketing should help support that, and we don't necessarily help. We don't close the sale, but we do help make that conversation easier and kind of help you build that trust. A few tactical tips. You can repurpose content, one story into multiple formats. Use your short personal videos, especially in B2B. I feel like that's still underused, but powerful. And I'm kind of guilty of it. I don't like to be on camera, but I do recognize that videos do catch my attention a little bit more. And just really, and another one is you can try to lean into community spaces. Where are these people hanging out with? Are they hanging out in LinkedIn groups? Are they on Reddit? In there you can find great insights and content ideas.
I agree with that. I love the whole video. Video is a scrappy tool that you can use. I mean, since the invention of this little guy, which is whatever your phone that you have.
Yeah, we all carry around a video recorder.
It's the ubiquitous tool that everybody can use, and you don't have to be highly polished to use it. In fact, people appreciate more authenticity behind that. Yep. It's just it is such an underused tool to a lot of people. You just got to kind of dive in, right? Yeah. Lean into it.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a laundry list here, but I'll just acknowledge what Crystal said as like the ultimate truth. What's going to work, where you should be, comes down to where your people are. Like, Crystal, is it true? Do you guys exclusively focus on restaurants, or are you restaurant/retail?
So we did start out in restaurants, and for the past almost 2 decades, that's where we have focused on, and I've done very well with it. But we are branching to, we call ourselves multi-vertical POS. So we're branching into some retail shops, grocery. So in the future, we're going to have like hair salons,
okay, cool.
Booking, things like that. So we're expanding to really focus on just SMBs in general. And
cool.
Yeah, going from there.
That popped into my head this morning as I was thinking about the pod. I knew you guys were in restaurants. I didn't know if that was exclusive or not. And I guess just using that as an example, larger, what I'll call corporate restaurants or chains are going to be on a LinkedIn. Your Dean and James's burger spot, maybe, but also maybe not. That might kind of dictate where you'd need to be, or what.
They're more likely to have a Facebook page potentially than a LinkedIn. Yeah.
And in some cases, from my perspective, as someone who is heavily invested into LinkedIn and how great it is, it's not always the answer. Right. But let me start off by saying, for those for whom it could be or is, and I think people would be surprised how many types of job titles you can reach, not just based on what it says, but literally like have success with. I always use the example of police officers, police chiefs, fire chiefs. We've had success reaching on LinkedIn. But the thing I've been saying on our 2U tours to people is, if LinkedIn is a channel that makes sense for your business, the organic side of it is huge for a couple of reasons. And the first one is, as far as I know, it's the only social media network that I can proactively do two things: search you out by where you are, what industry you're in, and request that we connect from a person to person, right?
Right.
You can't do that on Twitter. You can't do that. I got to wait for you to follow me. Whereas on LinkedIn, I can be proactive. And I believe that it's a limit of 20 connections per day. It used to be a higher bar, but I think a lot of automation tools ruin that for everybody. But if I were, running a small business, an ISV, let's say, and I had a few, marketing savvy sales folks or, marketing people with some scrappiness to them, I would ask them, hey, would you guys spend some amount of time every week going out and proactively adding these people to your personal account? And that, I think, is the other big point I like to make to people, is not to abandon your company profile, but to really lean into the personal brands of your people, which you can't force them, right? These are their owned channels.
Right.
But for those that are bought in or are partners in the business or whatever, get those people out there and use them as the tentacles of your business. Proactively make 20, 40, 60 connections per week. And before long, you're going to have hundreds of people that you're connected to for whom your message is relevant. And then it's, well, what do I post, James? That is another podcast, right?
That's
organic.
That's volume 2. Yep.
Yeah, right.
For sure. But organic LinkedIn, I won't say much about Reddit other than it is topic based. And I every now and again, I'm in Reddit often, but I'll poke in and just see what kind of conversations are happening in the point of sale world, in the ADC. Hey, does anyone have any opinions about vendor X or vendor Y? And
it's a great place to do some research too, to find out what actual people are talking about, because people love to go in there and complain or ask for advice. And it's a great thing sometimes. I think if you go there and like someone said a question like, hey, what is a quality point of sale that does this for me? And look at those answers. And if people are saying a certain name of a company over and over again, maybe that one that you're competing against, or let's say if you're looking for a partner, maybe you are a hardware reseller and you're looking for a good point of sale software partner, you're going in there and seeing, hey, everybody's saying this POS is their favorite.
Right.
That's maybe somebody I should be partnering up with to see if we can work together on going out and selling some solutions together.
And on the flip side,
and kind of on that topic about people talking about things, and we notice a lot of the some of the larger companies, a lot of the reviews can be bought. So whether you're on Yelp, you're even on, I'm trying to think of all the review sites. A lot of them can't. Anyway, it gets a little iffy. So for us, we've actually pointed out, hey, go look at this competitor. Don't just go on Google. I think Google's one of the few last frontiers where they're, it's probably the real ones what you can't, buy off and such and hide and everything. But look up specifically this competitor, look at the big company and look at their actual headquarters and just dig. And there you'll find what everyone's actually really saying, looking on their Glassdoor and then they'll find out that they're really shocked, so just kind of really tapping into the, what people are talking about and just really finding and seeing what they're all saying is just great content and great research to have.
You can find your competitive angle too, especially when you're competing with monopolists that people have lots of opinions about. Is it their support? Is it their pricing models or what have you? You can use that as a way to go, well, let's do the opposite of what these guys are doing.
Or let's point out what we're already doing that's the opposite of what they do.
Right.
Like I said earlier, I've become I'm an event truther these days. I'm a big believer in the power of events, small events, collaborative events, working with a customer or a partner or two who can help bring people in. Because I think that's the tricky part about in-person events too, is where should we have it? Where do we have a bunch of partners that we could bring people out? Well, when you bring in a few other co-hosts, so to speak, you tap into their networks too. So I think mini events, collaborations, niche media outlets. So this is something, a play that we've run for years and years, which is, hey, Crystal, do you guys focus on restaurants? Yes, we do. Well, here's 4 different media outlets that have 45,000 subscribers. And I think the key here is it can be expensive. This is I need budget for this. It might be $3,000 or $5,000. But you get to borrow the credibility. So we talked earlier about building trust. This is a bit of a hack. I'm not a big hack guy when it comes to building brands and doing things the right way, but I do believe it's one of those where if I get restauranttechnology.com to send out a message with their name on it in support of my brand, I am borrowing their credibility temporarily.
For sure.
I'll pay a premium for it, but there's something to gain from that.
Right. Absolutely.
Sure.
One other quick one, which is micro influencers /partnership. Meaning, I'll use Order Counter as the example here. If they had a customer who made a lot of noise, let's just say was influential on a micro level, right? And they recognize that at some point and go, ooh, this is a good customer of ours who really makes some good noise, and other restaurateurs listen to them, other retailers listen to them. Maybe we could throw them a bone in terms of a quarter free, 3 months free of the software license or what have you, in exchange for some content creation, some really great stuff that they could put out there that could influence and drive us some more leads.
That's a good idea.
And that stuff blends seamlessly too into like people's feeds. Like I've noticed that, like, if I'm thumbing through TikTok or something, every now and then you'll come across your favorite creator and they're just riffing about something. And then it takes a while. Like sometimes you're like 10, 20 seconds in before you realize, or first of all, a lot of times usually there's that little paid promo or paid sponsorship down at the bottom. But if you're not really paying attention to that, sometimes you can be sitting there for a while and going like, this is interesting. And then you realize like, oh, wait a minute. They got paid to promote this.
Somebody's selling me right now.
But I'm still kind of interested in this and I like this creator, so I'm going to keep following along with this, and if nothing else, you might get people hooked a little further into a pitch before they are ready to tune out. It might get a little bit extra hook that you need to get them further along to stop and pay more attention and actually realize like, hey, there's some value in this. I'm going to go look into it a little further.
2 quick details on it. I think we kind of mentioned it, but just to make sure it's clear. I think people hear influencer and immediately think we're talking about someone with 2 million followers.
No.
That's going to cost
like
you
Kardashian or something, right?
Right. This doesn't have to, it shouldn't, in our world, it's not going to be a household name. It is a niche name. And so that's number one. Number two is it doesn't have to be a monetary exchange. It certainly could be, right? In $500, $700, whatever the case, or it could be, how can we work? I think that would be ideal. If it were me and my business, it would be, who is someone that I can provide value to? Maybe it's the service they're already using, my product, which is what makes them a great spokesperson for me. What can I give to them that wouldn't cost me a ton? If I only got 2 customers, I can't have one not paying me. But if I've got 200 customers, I can afford to not have one pay me for a few months in exchange for something that's going to bring me
a good
customer
barter
or two. Right.
Right.
Yep.
So look for those angles.
There you go.
I was going to reference the newsletter third party thing too. That was because I've been hearing this buzz lately that newsletters are kind of making a comeback. And I think it's because we are now in this world where, especially as AI generated content starts taking over, and more people are starting to get frustrated with just generic slop, the stuff that's just showing up all over the place. And they're looking for something that is starting to look a little more authentic. So apparently people are starting, I joked about the blogs thing earlier, but people are starting to pivot back to newsletters and they're starting to find it beneficial to sign up for, hey, here's a trusted person that I like or a trusted brand that I like. And they're going to start compiling some news and articles and tidbits of information and send it out to me in a newsletter. That is the kind of stuff where, again, if you can tap into that and you can borrow that credibility, as you put it, you get that. It's the thing that I subscribe to a lot of newsletters. They're in my inbox every day. There's ones that I always look forward to reading and will read through it immediately as soon as I have a chance to get a hold of it. But to that point, sometimes I'll get one from them that will be like, from our partner, blah, blah, blah. And it still sometimes can be formatted the same way. It might still look like a standard newsletter, but in reality, it's low key a slight plug for this particular company. And there's been times when that's made me pay a little more attention. I've done this with podcasts. Sometimes you'll get a podcast ad that you listen to, or maybe the hosts are giving you an ad and they're like, hey, check out the link in the show notes. Go check these folks out. If you're interested, give them our promo code and you get XYZ% off. I've done it. I found new stuff that I liked. It's little stuff like that. I think that borrowing credibility is a powerful tool that people don't think enough about and don't realize that there are people that have that credibility, to your point, that aren't necessarily the giant influencers of the world, but still have enough of an audience that can get you a little bit of reach to folks that otherwise we're not going to pay attention to your random ad that you're throwing out there, but we'll pay attention to their favorite person whose advice and everything about them they trust and believe in, and now go, well, hey, they want me to check out this product. I'll give it a whirl because they like it.
Let me add something to that, because we've used the word trust. Maybe all of us. I don't know if you've said it yet or not.
I don't think I have.
Go ahead and get one
Trust.
if you want. Perfect. Trust is important. It's super important. Yep. It is almost a requirement before someone would buy from you, unless it's something that is $15, and if it breaks, I'll buy another one. I don't really care. I think it's important to keep in mind, because I'm sure there's someone who's listening to this going, okay, yeah, I could do a micro-influencer thing, and they're going to go and do it. And if it doesn't immediately convert, then they're going to go, that was a bad idea. Have you built the trust? I do think that we have to keep in mind that every touch is a touch toward building brand awareness, and brand awareness is very important. But I think this is a way to accelerate that, which is, if I'm just putting ads in your feed, there is some trust that comes along with familiarity. if I just hammer you, eventually like, okay, I know this company, clearly they have some money because they're in my feed every single day with an ad.
Yep.
But if I can if I can associate my brand, myself, whatever, with someone that you already trust, does that mean you immediately trust me? No, but I think it is a turbo boost compared to just seeing my name. If I can associate it with someone that you know and like, then it's, they like them well enough to do this. So it, it kind of takes you up a couple notches.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, we will come back and wrap up here in a moment. We'd like Crystal talk a little bit more about what she's doing over there at OrderCounter. But before we do that, I want to quickly note what's happening around BlueStar Nation. So, if we're speaking about a little less utilized marketing strategies, webinars can be a great way to go out and share some
absolutely
specific info, new products, hot trends, introduce some partnerships.
Yep.
Did you know that BlueStar is frequently hosting webinars? So,
I did. We did. But we have inside information.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking to the listeners.
Got it.
So, but, we do it sometimes to share our own expertise of what we're doing out there and to spotlight a lot of our vendor and software partners. So we typically post these on LinkedIn where people know that they can go and sign up for them. But now you can go and find some recent and upcoming webinars in one place on BlueStarInc.com under the events page. Thanks, James, for building that page out. I'll make sure keeping it updated regularly. So you can find the link in the show notes to bookmark, but please follow that. Check it out. There's some really good stuff that we're putting out there. Every now and then we'll take some. We've got one, in fact, coming out. I take it back. It came out today as we're recording this, where we did our networking connectivity webinar that we actually took and decided, like, let's turn it into a podcast and release that out there too. So good stuff we're putting out there. The people that attend these tend to really like them and be really engaged. We have some folks that honestly, the second we put out a webinar, they're instantly signed up. There's names I see on almost every single one of these that sign up every time. So there's a great thing for you to do that might give you a leg up on your competition. Check these out.
If you can turn your webinar into a podcast, I think that's a good barometer for whether it was a good webinar.
There you go.
That is a great point.
Right.
If you can do that and be like, hey, people are going to be interested in this as a podcast too. While you're out there doing that and checking out BlueStar Inc. and signing up for webinars, give us a moment to like and subscribe. Check out our channel on YouTube if you're not already. We post the video versions of this there. You can see Crystal in all of her orange glory right now with all the cool stuff she's got going on in her background. There you go. Yeah, see, we got all the good orange stuff. If you're a podcast audio only listener, it befits you to check out the YouTube page from time to time and subscribe, because we throw a lot of other cool video content there that we're not releasing anywhere else as well. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, let us know what you like and don't like about the show, or be like Crystal and say, hey, I want to hear about this topic on the podcast. And if you want to be the guest too, sure.
Yeah, right.
We always will take an opportunity to have someone come on
100%.
do all the smart talking so that Dean and I don't have to fumble through a topic.
That's right.
So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can also email us at anytime, nation@bluestarinc.com. All right, let's wrap things up here with a little VAR value and a takeaway for the audience who, if you've made it this far, I know we've gone a little bit long in this conversation, but
good
to be
stuff.
Fair, if you follow this podcast, you know that our marketing episodes are going to get a little deep, especially if Korte's showing up too. So, so you should have expected this. So Crystal, talk a little bit more about OrderCounter. Talk a little bit more. You've mentioned some of your offerings and what you're doing out there, but talk about how your scrappy marketing strategies have really helped you connect with the channel partners, your end users, and maybe make the pitch for some folks that might want to partner up with you guys too.
Sure, absolutely. So at OrderCounter, we offer a fiercely processor agnostic multi-vertical point of sale built for SMBs who want freedom of choice. So you got from full service restaurants to small retail. We provide tools like online ordering, POS, kiosk, KDS, all designed to help small businesses run smoothly. So we have had to be scrappy from day one. We talked about, starting out the garage. So our approach to marketing has always been about understanding the pain points deeply and turning that insight into messaging that sticks with both end users and channel partners. So don't try to outspin the big guys. What you can do is outlisten them. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's a good line.
Just kind of in summary, back to our Monopolists Tears campaign. That was born out of frustrations that we kept hearing about, they're tired of their company being bought out. They're tired of all these lock-ins, surprise buyouts, shrinking freedom. So we turned that into a movement with a simple message that's bigger than ourselves. Threw in a few T-shirts, some cheeky giveaways, and what started out scrappy gained traction because it felt true for our partners. We weren't just selling software. We were building a collective against something bigger than ourselves. And, sure, when it's time to scale, you can build a bigger department. You can add more, channels and spend a little more. But please, for the love of anything, do not lose that scrappy part of you. Be authentic to yourself, and let the investment follow the response.
Nice. Very good advice.
Fantastic advice.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything you guys have to add to that?
Nope. I don't. Yeah.
My value for the VAR just from this episode today, the key thing I think they ought to take away that I think we're all aligned on is strategic focus.
Yep.
If you're a small but scrappy organization, it's overwhelming, especially if marketing isn't necessarily your comfort zone. Decide where you want to go win. What is the industry? What's the size of the business? What's the solution you're going to bring to it? And for, let's just say, the second half of 2025 leading into 2026, that's where you're going to stay focused. So should we go to this event? Should we spend this money here? Does it meet where we're focused for the next 12 months? I think would be a really, really strong move for anybody.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, if you're trying to start some scrappy marketing and then just do the spray and pray kind of thing where you're just like, I'm just going to go everywhere and try wherever I can.
That was the line I was looking for. Thanks for reminding me.
If that's your goal, then it's going to fall apart fast, and you're going to get very frustrated with your marketing.
Yeah, really.
Exactly. Get a little strategy behind it there. All right. Well, and hey, of course, there's also, if you are going out there and talking to your customers, if you're just mostly a vendor reseller or a hardware reseller, and you hear them complaining about those POS and those monopolists out there, feel free to reach out to the folks at OrderCounter. Maybe they can help you bring a little more authenticity and something the big guys don't have. All right, let's wrap up as always with what's on our radar. This is where we talk about anything in the world of tech, innovation, science, the news, entertainment, whatever we feel like that has our attention right now that we want to chat about. So, Crystal, I know you are a somewhat regular listener to the show, so you get this segment. What's on your radar right now?
Oh gosh. So if by the time this comes out, it's probably so old news, but when the whole Astronomer / Coldplay controversy, that caught my attention. And not just the initial blow up, but how the company has navigated the fallout. I won't say they're in the clear. And it's kind of heartbreaking how fast the internet can tear people down. But the whole world was united with it. And so that part stinks a little bit. But for what's fascinating from a marketing and PR standpoint is how they're trying to turn it around unexpectedly. So if you guys haven't heard, Astronomer, the company hired Gwyneth Paltrow, who is the ex-wife of Coldplay, to do an ad for them to try to, and it was pretty funny. It was pretty cheeky. So anyway, whether it was planned or reactive, it kind of shows how quickly that narrative can shift when you lean into humor, embrace absurdity, and just move fast.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't know about the Gwyneth.
Yeah, that is one of those stories. I remember when this blew up, and we were talking about it. There was one point where there was 3 different WebEx conversations I had going on at work. One in our fantasy football chat. There was a conversation about this happening there. There was one happening in our memes, the place where we talk about social marketing ideas. And then I think just another random person was reaching out to me and talking about it too. My wife had already heard about it before I even got to her. And she's not someone that lives very much on the internet or sees these things before they happen.
Right.
It was amazing to me how viral this went and how it just went out everywhere. It's not a niche, because sometimes some of the things that happen on the internet these days can be very niche. And if you're not on a certain platform or follow a certain thing, you're not going to be part of it. This is one that just, for better or for worse, and it's one of those things where I don't know all the backstory, and there could be context and layers of this we don't know, but either one way or another, this became inescapable. And it's the kind of viral marketing that everybody wishes they could have, but this one kind of went in the wrong direction. But the response to some of the stuff they're trying to do and get cheeky about it, I think has been fascinating too.
I have to add something here because I've thought about this too much as well. The thing that I keep...
you wondered if it was even real, if it was actually entirely a marketing scheme.
Here's why.
You could totally see that.
I don't think that that's the case anymore, just because, this would have had to have been AI video. You see and hear Chris Martin calling them out.
Right.
Anyway, I got over that. But the reason I felt so strongly about that is I saw, like everybody else, 4 or 5 different post headlines. They all said Astronomer CEO. I was supposed to know who the hell Astronomer
who
is.
is that?
I literally thought
none of us had heard of.
I thought he was an astronaut or an astronomer.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So that was why I was like, The real point I want to bring up is that virality. If you converted it into paid media, meaning if you had to pay to get that kind of reach, What do you think that would have been?
Oh my God, that would have been insane.
Millions and millions of dollars.
That'd be like a Coca-Cola budget, like for something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago, do you guys remember the Tom Brady deflate gate?
Yeah.
And he was they spoofed it on SNL, and they had, I don't remember if it was Tom himself, and it wasn't literally Tom, but someone playing Tom at the press conference. And I remember, this is years back now, there was the Gillette backdrop behind him. So they are in Boston area, whatever. And I remember thinking, Gillette is getting earned media off of this because Tom's taking air out of the, and I always think that, which is like, whether it's good or bad, when a brand gets a ton of, what's it, Ocean Spray years ago with the guy on like the skateboard or whatever. I can't help but think it would have been, the whole world knows about this. At least all of North America knows about this.
I mean, if nothing else, I'm sure like the amount of searches for Astronomer had to have been through the roof.
Of course.
Yeah, it went
for a few weeks. It's a company that can't say that people don't know who they are anymore at this point. And hopefully, if they're smart, they figure out a way to capitalize on that.
Somebody in that boardroom was going, how do we profit?
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry this happened, but how are we going to make some money off of this?
That's right.
Good times.
Sure.
Good stuff.
Man.
All right, Korte, what about you? What's on your radar?
I've got two, both techie, which I don't always try to do that, but just yesterday I was playing with ChatGPT Agent. I've been hearing about AI agents forever, and I get it in concept, but whatever. A, I didn't have a use case, and B, just only so many things you can look into in a day. But yesterday, Angie on our team came to me and said, Korte, I need to be able to get the contact ID out of our event software for 1,200 registrants. I know you're aware of this as well. It hasn't completely been solved yet, but I was like, well, let me see if we can use the API. API is $5,000 a year. I almost want to call out this company by name because that's such BS. Anyway.
You can, but I'm going to bleep that one out.
Yeah, well, I won't do it. We're under contract for at least another year. So I told Angie, I'm like, I shouldn't even say this because I have no idea what's capable here or what it's capable of rather, but I went and used, we pay $20 a month for GPT, so we have the agent access. You can give it very explicit instructions on what to do, and it will go and use the internet on your behalf.
Right.
It logged into the event. It went and found the menu item under the menu item, went to the page, clicked into a record, and was able to parse a part of the URL, which was the contact ID, and then place it in a Google Sheet by itself.
Oh, wow.
Something that would have taken us like days to do.
It's super slow. It's not fast. It is literally I'm watching it work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I can even take over. Hey, for instance, it tried to put it in a Google Sheet and it tried to paste. And it was like, you have to install an extension. And GPT kept hitting cancel. And I joked because Angie was on a call with me while we were doing it. I'm like, this thing's not taking my job anytime soon, man. Come on, install the extension. Anyway, I took over, installed the extension, and then put it back to work. And it said, you took over. What did you do? Give me context. It kind of blew my freaking mind. To
That's
finally,
crazy.
First person see this thing doing what people have been saying on LinkedIn it can do.
Right.
The other one is super duper quick. In fact, we were just chatting about it before we jumped on the podcast. It's called ElevenLabs. Crystal, are you aware of this? ElevenLabs for voiceovers?
Let me look it up right now.
It's like dirt cheap. You can clone voices. So you can take a little sample. I've done it for you like a year ago. I did it with your voice and my own. Yeah. But the cooler part is, when we're working on a video, like an event recap video, it's cool. Put some music together and some shots together. But man,
is that what you've been using for the 2U videos?
Yes. Cool. So for our 2U tour stops, I've just been grabbing what feels like an appropriate voice, writing a script or having GPT help me write a script. And man, does it elevate the videos just to hear someone explaining what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So ElevenLabs, it's basically on-demand voiceover. Is it taking work from people? Yes, it is. It's just fun to play with, and it's really inexpensive.
Well, there's more work being done, meaning we would never have done that.
No, I'm never going to pay someone to do VO for a 2U. I just wouldn't have done it. So it's improving the work. And in my, are there going to be some cases where it's stealing? Yes, but that's just the reality of the way the world works. Unfortunately, technology creates new jobs and kills old ones.
That's right. Yeah.
ElevenLabs, pretty cool. If you're involved in creative, check it out because it's very inexpensive.
There you go.
There might even be a free option.
There's a scrappy marketing tool right there for you.
Right.
Boom.
Dean, what do you got?
Well
What's
done.
on your radar?
Do you like corn?
Yeah.
Do you like corn?
Favorite.
Do we like corn?
You mean the like this corn, rocks corn, or you mean like this corn?
Corn with a K?
No. Oh, yeah.
I like
Corn with a K, yeah.
I'm going to go corn with the C that you eat.
I like the corn
yeah.
a year ago.
Well, we're in the dog days of summer, right? It's hot, sticky. And you're maybe looking for somebody or something to blame when it's hot and sticky out, especially here in the Midwest. I know Crystal was complaining she's down in Florida, I guess. So yeah, it's like it's always warm down there. But here in the Midwest, when it gets hot and sticky, if you're looking for something to blame, you can blame corn now because corn sweats.
I think I literally just heard this story somewhere recently. I don't know where, but yeah,
so
go
chief
on.
meteorologist down at Nexstar explains that corn and corn crops sweat like humans when they become hot. Unlike humans, however, plants bring the water up from their roots, right? And then it's a process called evapotranspiration. So not
that was a
perspiration,
pretty,
but yeah, okay.
So
So
with that one.
a single acre of corn can release up to 4,000 gallons of water vapor daily. So when you take into account all the water that's kind of in the Midwest, I mean, when you think about it, and to anybody who's never driven through the Midwest, Illinois, it's just cornfield after cornfield
miles
after
and miles,
cornfield. Yeah, 35 billion gallons of water vapor are produced per day, which would be enough to fill 52,000 Olympic-sized pools.
Good.
So there you go. That's adding to the humidity, which adds to just the misery that you have here in the Midwest. Blame the corn, dude.
Okay.
Can this offset some of the water
Corn with a
usage
C,
by
not with a
AI?
K.
Yes.
Because water consumption is a big AI concern. Is there like a match to make here between
No doubt.
All right, there you go.
Capture it and use it to like cool the AI
plants
generators.
it around the data centers? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. You guys got to figure this one out. But.
So you make a data center, you grow corn underneath it or something,
right,
or just mixed in with it.
Hanging garden above? I don't know.
There it is.
Someone somewhere's got to be
get
able
on
to
this.
figure this out for us.
Right,
Yeah,
let's
there's
connect
gotta
the
be-
dots.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
got to be a way to make this happen.
So what's on your radar?
This is funny because you a couple weeks ago you had one about sweaty paint.
Sweating paint. Yeah.
Like I feel like there's like a thematic element here.
I feel like there is now too, but
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm gonna-
because it's hot.
I'm going to
It's the
need
summer.
your next what's on your radar to involve sweating it in some way. So, all right.
man,
Well,
what's on yours?
I gotta go a little more down and a little more morose here of sorts. But let's talk about losing blood.
Okay.
And lots of people, unfortunately, this has got tens of thousands of people bleed to death each year in the U.S. before they get to a hospital. In part because if you're taking a ride in an ambulance, helicopter, medics, or whatever it is, they can't carry blood with them. That's something that's got to be kept in certain temperatures and environments. It's not, they can't just have a whole case full of blood hanging around waiting for someone that might need it. Well, apparently, because it'll go bad really fast. Well, now we've got scientists working on artificial blood, which can be stored in a powdered form and reconstituted by medics on the spot to use for someone to save their life.
That's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant, intelligent use case. There's some folks at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. They've been doing some research using rabbits where they will actually kind of bleed out the rabbit a little bit and then use this, reconstituted blood, give it back to the rabbit and find that they very quickly recover and get back to the levels that they're supposed to be at with just very simple. I mean, just think about that. Can you imagine that? Just like, you have just some...
It's brilliant.
Powdered blood.
Yeah.
Just lay it around.
There you go.
I guess stir a little water into it, or I'm sure it's probably a little more complicated than that, and pump it into somebody. And at the very least, you're doing what needs to be done to keep them with enough blood flowing to keep them alive long enough to get them to the hospital where they can start getting the real stuff.
Great. Hey, can you grab me some O positive off the counter there? Yeah.
Now, my caveat here is don't actually get it messed up with like some spices or something.
Or your strawberry milk.
Yeah, exactly. Some strawberry Nesquik or some turmeric spice or something. Like things that could go a really bad direction very quickly. I'm going to assume the professionals know what they're doing. But as always, that we stick some links in the show notes and stuff. Read a little more of this article from NPR that explains a little more about how they came up with this. But it's fascinating, and it's one of those things that, hey, if it's a way that we can potentially stop several 100,000 deaths a year by having this option available, that's a great and useful thing.
Brilliant.
All right, that's what's on our radar this week. Crystal Barrineau, thank you so much for joining us.
Crystal.
Thanks, Crystal.
And
thank you so much for having me, guys.
And thank you for sending an idea. We very much appreciate that. Yeah. You sent enough ideas. We probably could get you back and do this again in the future. So
yes,
just know if I have one of those weeks where I'm struggling to find a guest, there's a good chance warned. I might be hitting you up to come back.
As long as you're okay with me trying to not talk about grappling or egg rolls or sweet tea.
Yes.
I'm good. So.
Hey, whatever. We can do that too. That's fine. I like a good egg roll and good sweet tea. The grappling, that might be a conversation
from the
South.
Yeah, totally.
That's more of a him thing. All right. Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. Until next time, go out there, get scrappy, and we'll see you in the nation.